So for the Affordable Care Act, if it's struck down, what's the Republicans' plan? Will it cover the millions getting coverage under the ACA? Does it cover people with pre-existing conditions or kids on their parents' plans?
Yes, so those are provisions that we agree with when it comes to the Affordable Care Act, allowing young people up to the age of 26 to be on their parents' plan, absolutely covering those with pre-existing conditions at the national level, but we also have that requirement in New York State. So every New Yorker with health insurance, it has to cover pre-existing conditions, and you're not allowed to discriminate against someone with pricing if you have pre-existing conditions. Members of my own family have pre-existing conditions. Other provisions that I want to see is healthcare being able to purchase it across state lines to give patients better choices, more options rather than limited options. I also want to make sure that we're lowering the cost of prescription drugs. In many cases, we want that savings not to be at the insurance company level, but at the actual patient. So the customer, when there are savings for prescription drugs, it needs to be translated with lowering costs at the individual level so that families don't continue to see an increase in cost. And then another issue is the high deductible plans under Obamacare. There are many people in this district that have deductibles $10,000 and above, and they can't afford those out-of-pocket expenses. So again, that goes back to more choices, better plans with lower deductibles.
Would you also like to see the court overturn Roe v. Wade?
My position on the issue of life is I'm pro-life with exceptions for life of the mother, rape and incest. I support over-the-counter access to birth control. Roe v. Wade, multiple Supreme Court nominees, even recently who have been confirmed, said that it's settled law, and it's up to legislative, Congress and states.
Do you think the court is going to have to weigh in on a contested election? Do you think there are going to be lots of challenges to ballots, especially with so many people voting because of COVID-19 concerns by absentee ballot?
Well, we are 24 days out. This is definitely an unprecedented election year. We're definitely seeing an increase across the country of people that are voting by absentee, voting by mail. We're also seeing an increase of ballots being sent to the wrong house, to people that have passed away, to people who have since moved away. So I'm very concerned about ballot integrity, and I think that is important. It's an important principle in this country to make sure that our ballots and elections are secure, safe, and you have that ballot integrity. I don't want to weigh in on that because I think it's really important to see how this plays out over the coming days. There are already court cases, though, pending at the state levels as they're making some of these decisions about how ballots are cast. My focus in this district is making sure that if people want to vote absentee, they know how to do so. It's a safe and secure way. It's also safe and secure to vote in person early, which is new this year for the congressional elections. And that starts on October 24th, and then, of course, on Election Day.
When we talked with Tetra Cobb, she was critical of your response to the intelligence that Russia has put bounties on the head of U.S. troops and running ads to that effect. How do you respond to that?
I respond to that it's shameful. She is smearing our military and intelligence community who have, whether it's the commanding general of U.S. forces in Afghanistan or the commanding general of CENTCOM or the director of the CIA. Those are illegal leaks, but most importantly, they are factually inaccurate. They have done investigations into that, actually following the intelligence, absolutely to see if that's true, and those are not true.
No truth to the
No truth
bounties?
to it, and the head of U.S. forces in Afghanistan, whether it's General Miller or General McKenzie, have said that those are unsubstantiated and no truth. My focus is on force protection. I've had conversations with the National Security Advisor, had asked tough questions of the Secretary of Defense, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, to make sure that we were taking all precautions for force protection. Tetra Cobb is on record supporting defense cuts. She said that on the debate stage when we ran in 2018. Those defense cuts would have impacted our military readiness, our force protection, and they would have impacted our ability to make sure that we had the intelligence resources to actually open up that investigation, which they did and found they were unsubstantiated. There was a really interesting letter to the editor published today in the Watertown Daily Times by a Democrat who said those are shameful It is really a slap in the face to the military community to put explosions of unverified, unsubstantiated, and untrue leaks in the New York Times to run them on ads in this district. This is one of the reasons that we're going to win in November.
And last question, COVID. You're mentioning COVID. How challenging has it been to try to campaign in this season with all the COVID restrictions?
It has been very different. So COVID really hit, and the shutdown in New York State hit in the middle of the petition process. So it literally was part of campaigning, part of qualifying for the ballot. We have a great campaign team, infrastructure of volunteers and staff, so we were able to overwhelmingly get the signatures we need. We've gotten creative, whether it's Zoom calls, conference calls. We are safely engaging in doing sign deliveries, doing in-person events. People really want to see that, particularly because our COVID rates have been so low here, but it certainly has been a different year. I think it's also important as a candidate and elected official, if you want to hear from the small businesses, I've been going to small businesses to hear from them how they're updating their operations, the investments they've made in personal protection equipment, the challenges they've faced. That's a real stark contrast to my opponent, who I don't even think has visited a small business this year. So as an elected official and candidate, it's important to get out there safely.
Congresswoman, thank you very much for taking the time.
Thanks, Tom.
Appreciate it.